we have the Next Level wheel and pedal stand, which Next Level Racing kindly sent us to do a review video on. Of course, those of you that know how it is around here, generally when I review stuff I like to have it for a little bit of time, put it through its paces and then give the results rather than just going through what's written on the back of the box. Now, we've had this for about 4 weeks now, and I've had a chance to drive it with most of the main simulators, iRacing, of course, R-Factor 2, Dirt 4, Dirt Rally, pretty much all of them, with us using the Thrustmaster T300 to do our testing, as I think that's the most likely wheel that people will be pairing this rig with. With that in mind, we're going to first go over the good points of this wheel stand, followed by the not so good points of the wheel stand. Perhaps the most striking thing about the rig when you first get it is that it's almost fully pre-assembled. You pull it out of the box and all you have to do is, there's a couple of screws, but other than that it's just a case of mounting your steering wheel and pedals to it. The only fiddly part of getting it operational is mounting the wheel, and you really do need to have the wheel on it and then you need to go underneath it to put the screws in. You could use the wheel clamp, but I found if you do that, you don't get the same stability than if you actually hard mount it with the screws. And to be honest, if you've got a rig, you should probably be using the hard mounts anyway. Once everything is assembled and you begin your driving, what you then notice is that this rig is actually fantastically stable given how compact it can be compressed to when you've actually finished your ludicrous hobby sessions. Most of the time, when it comes to smaller wheel stands, the big compromise is generally between size and stability. The smaller the rig, the less stable it is, the larger, the more stable. But then the larger it is, the more space it takes up and the less small it can be when you're done. This rig, in my mind, is the ultimate compromise between those two things. It compresses down really small, but extracts to be rather large and stable. A really clever design. Another really nice thing with this wheel stand is just how quickly you can get it from the packed away compacted state pulled out into the locked in and ready to drive state. It might not have some of the small adjustability of some of the other rigs, but the fact that you can just fold it out and you're ready is again really impressive. And for those of you that maybe have to get your sim racing in between dealing with family or sneakily sim race in front of the TV on a games console, this will allow you to just get it out of the cupboard or out of the corner of the room, fold it out and be going driving within a matter of minutes. Lastly, the final big positive of the Next Level wheel stand, I would say, is the amount of freedom it gives you in terms of where you can place your pedals. Not only can you mount the pedals in different places, but you can also slide the pedal plate itself up and down after you've mounted the pedals, allowing people of different sizes to just jump on with a little bit of adjustment, and also allowing you to choose between a more reclined, not quite Formula 1 position, but you know, more in that direction, or a full bus driver driving the kids to school position. Really nice to actually have that amount of adjustability in a wheel stand. Often wheel stands don't offer that when it comes to pedal positions. Though the wheel stand is more stable than a horse's house, especially in comparison to other wheel stands and some other full-size rigs that I've tried on the market, you will notice if you start to go bananas on the wheel, and especially if you apply upwards forces, which typically you don't, that where the wheel joins the rig can bend a little bit and the top part of the rig as well can move around a bit. It has to be said, it's more noticeable in the video than when you're actually driving. And really, if you want something that's 100% rock solid, then I don't think you're going to be able to get it in this form factor, and you will have to go for a full-size rig. I've also found with the pedal plate, when you apply high amounts of pressure to it, that there's a little bit of flex before it then goes solid when it connects with the bottom of the joint. This might be a case of just dialing it out, or it might settle down over time, but initially, especially those of you with stronger pedals, not using the T300 pedals or T3PA pedals, you might find this a little bit irritating unless you can actually resolve this. I've also found that the rig seems to be designed in the direction of supporting smaller chairs. So for example, if you're using this on your sofa, it will work perfectly fine, or if you've got an office chair that happens to sink quite low, then again you'll be okay. But if on the other hand you're say 6'2", such as myself, and only have a large chair, then you'll find that you're starting to stretch the rig out a bit and get into the edge of what it can support, increasing the instability. So people that are smaller, or if you're using it in your sitting room with a sofa, absolutely fantastic. Maybe if you've got a foldable chair, again, absolutely fantastic. But if you've only got an office chair and you're a lanky bugger, then you might find it hard to get the ideal position with this rig. Lastly, though the pedal plate has a really nice amount of adjustment to it, unfortunately that can't be said for the wheel. You do get height adjustment, and with that height adjustment that gives a little bit of depth adjustment as well, but it really doesn't have full tilt or depth control to a fine degree in terms of positioning the wheel exactly as you might want it. In conclusion, the Next Level Racing wheel stand is a pretty nice wheel stand. The main benefit, or the sort of unique selling point of this wheel stand, of course, is the fact that you've got something that's almost as stable as a fully fledged sim rig, though you've got the advantage that you can just almost instantaneously fold it up, put it in the corner pretending you don't have a ludicrous hobby, and then when you want to resume your ludicrous hobby, you can just take it back out again. Rather nicely, it comes out the box with a shifter mount, which you can either hard mount your shifter to or just use a clamp mount like we have here, and the shifter mount just slides in so that you can start using your H pattern when you want to get that more authentic driving experience. Now you might say, why was the shifter not actually in the wheel to start? In the wheel, on the rig to start with here? Well, if the shifter is on the wheel when you fold it up, you can't fold it up as much. So you probably will want to be taking the shifter on and off the device when you are putting it away. But as you saw, it really isn't that much of a problem. Now, other nice things with this rig are actually quite simple things. The things that probably don't cost Next Level Racing that much money, but are a nice addition in that you get these nice little Velcro cable ties included. I think you get 6 of them included with the wheel stand, and they let you just route your cables from your wheel and your pedal down the side of the rig, keeping things tidy and again making it easier to fold things up. So you'll have a job trying to route your shifter cable if you want to do that. So again, just keep that separate. Also, you get not only all the nuts and bolts to actually put it together and use it, most of which are already connected and set up when you pull the rig out of the box, but they also give you some additional nuts and bolts which can be used for obviously mounting your pedal and your steering wheel to the rig, but they've also got some spares in there in case you've lost some bolts or in case you don't know what you're doing, you've put stuff all over the place. Again, probably doesn't cost them much, but it's just really nice to not have to worry when you buy this that you're going to have all the bits there and probably have spare bits 5 years down the line when you've lost bits and pieces. Other criticism though, the instructions for this rig are terrible. Just chuck them in the dustbin. You don't really need instructions for it though, for the most part, because it is pretty simple and, as I say, mostly constructed out of the box. The only main thing is that you've got these additional bolts on the side which will add a bit of stability to this bar, and you've also got a extra like metal bracket that you can put underneath the wheel, so if you're using a TSPC Racer or some of the stronger Fanatec wheels on this rig, you can put that in to reduce flex of this plate. Mind you, I didn't end up using that with this T300 and found that it didn't make that much of a difference. It's relatively stable as it is stock. Now, finally, the last part of this rig is that not only do they have the driving simulator support in terms of the shifter bracket, the wheel and pedal support, but you can also upgrade the rig and go for a flight sim configuration which lets you put a HOTAS on it, and you can also use this as a sort of gateway drug rig into the world of sim racing and buy their chair that then attaches to it and converts it from a wheel stand into a full size rig. We don't have the chair part of the rig, but I do have the flight simulator part of the rig, and we're going to be doing a separate video on that because I think this rig could be a really good solution for those of you that are doing virtual reality and you want the space in your room for VR, so you don't want a full-size rig, you might not be a hardcore sim racer, but you also want something that's a solid platform for your HOTAS, for your steering wheel and pedals, and to use it all together. So we're going to have a separate VR review of this rig following on from this one. Hopefully that review was useful and informative. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section and I'll answer them as soon as possible. And if I can't answer them, I'll send an email off to Next Level Racing and get them to answer for me. But don't forget to click the subscribe button. Don't forget to like the video. And don't forget to watch out for our next review of this stand, where we'll be reviewing the flight sim capability of this wheel stand, especially for use as a VR stand. So until then, thanks for watching everybody, and goodbye.